Hey everybody, we are back, and this episode is going to focus on, as you saw, how to get over a person. I have 11 points and tips here for you, and I really want you to stay till the end because the last one I think will be very beneficial for anybody who's really going through it. And it's something that I myself have personally used to get over something that was extremely hard for me. So, I want to hop into this. And I think that once you watch this video, I think that there are some things here that you're going to take away and you're going to feel a lot better immediately. So, number one is, I know people try to go in and get cheered up fast, but it's really important that you feel through things. It's good to feel the sadness, the loss, all of those things. Now, we don't want to necessarily wallow in that, and we don't necessarily, it's hard because, we have to go on with our days, right? We have to go on with work or whatever we're doing. We don't have that time. So one idea within this is set some time aside for yourself to just really feel sad, whether it's you want to play some music that brings that up for you, and just, give yourself an hour to just really feel into it, so that you're not bypassing that part of the process. Because I think that's something that people are like, oh, you need to get out there and have a fun time, and that's not always going to be a helpful way to do things. I think it is important, but constant distraction is not going to help you get through the process. You do need to feel your feelings. And then something that is going to be really important that I see a lot of people, and I myself, this is the thing, I myself have gone through losses, and done this, just kept stuff around for a long time and wasn't able to get past things because of it. So it's really important, and you'll see other people mention this too who do this kind of work and talk about these kinds of things, which is to remove the items in your home that remind you of the person, pictures on your phone. Okay, if you're somebody who really has a hard time doing that, here is an alternative to actually getting rid of the stuff. So I'm going to give that first, which is you can just box everything up and put it away, or give it to a friend to hang on to, if they're willing to do that for you, so that you're not actually throwing it away just yet. You will get to a point where you're ready. And then you can donate it or whatever at that time. And then, like, for instance, if you have a lot of photos or videos or something like that, then you can put them in a folder if you don't want to actually get rid of them. I personally am at a point where when something like this happens, I generally get rid of everything, because it's just, for me, I've gotten to that point where that's best for me. So I either donate things. If something's very valuable and you need to get that back to the person, and you have mutual friends, you can have your friend take it over there, or you can send it in the mail. I would definitely not get together with that person because it's just going to tear everything, the Band-Aid off again. Now, if, I'm going to talk in the next point, it's going to, kind of dovetail perfectly. Of course, if you are, married, you are married, or you have kids with this person or whatever, there might be a little bit of complications in terms of that, but you can streamline that too. And I'm going to go more into that. And the third point is, don't keep in contact with that person. If they're texting you, you can just, You can either block them. There's lots of ways to do this. If you are on decent terms with the person, I had an instance where I was on good terms with the person, and I said, I need to get past this, and I really appreciate you texting. However, I need to stop communication with you because I want to move on. And it's important for my moving on that we don't stay in contact. And they were very respectful. But if you have somebody who keeps trying to get in contact with you, it's best that you break that contact with them and either ignore the text. The best thing really, if you really need to do that, is probably to block somebody, so that you're not getting that, because that can make that feeling come up, and maybe they want to get back together, and that's kind of a whole other conversation, because where I am coming from on this particular talk is everything's done and you are getting over this person. So it's really important to not keep in contact with them. So here we go into the thing that if you do have kids with this person and you do have to have contact with them, keep it very minimal, and what I would go into as almost professional level, where it's very much about, okay, dropping the kids off. You can even have a friend come with you, whatever it is. There's ways to just minimize that contact. When they get in contact with you, it's only going to be about the kids. So you just keep it very much about that specific relationship and keep that boundary for yourself. And for them, it's better for everybody. And just keep everything. I don't say bad stuff about them or anything like that to your kids. It's not helpful, and it's also just kind of reiterating your own pain by doing that. So fourth is, if you're in a space where you feel, sometimes you don't even have to, I would say, if the breakup was even not necessarily amicable, but you don't hate that person, if you can get to a place of wishing them well and forgiveness a little bit, into that space, it may take some time, but then they're not perpetuating things and being angry at somebody all the time. It takes a lot of energy, and it really is only hurting you. Unfortunately, and that might sound like maybe you've heard that 100 times, but it is something that's true, that I've found to be true. When I've been upset about something or losing someone in the past, where I just kept ruminating on it. And I'm not saying that there's not going to be times where you do. That is part of it. Something you can do, which is also part of not contacting, is you can write a letter to this person about all the things that you feel. Don't send it to them, though. Something that I've found, sounds a little woo-woo. I do live in California, so maybe that's what's going on. But in any case, one thing that I have done is I've written a letter and then burned it. Something about that feels clean. You can write a letter and throw it away. You can write a letter and keep it with the box of stuff that you have set aside, whatever. But I would suggest that, these are, ways of kind of moving through this process. And I think writing a letter, wishing them well on their next journey, it can be really helpful. And 5, which dovetails again, is so many people feel like, oh my God, this was my soulmate. This was meant to be. Listen, if this was meant to be, you guys would be together. And I know that sometimes people will have breaks and things like that, and they'll get back together. And that's a very specific, and I would say somewhat rare thing, where there's a break and people get back together and it works out. Sometimes that does happen. There are situations like that, but I wouldn't focus so much on that, because here's the thing. If there was only one person for somebody, that would be weird, because usually you can look at your own life. I can look at my own life and see that I've been in love several times, and there were other people that fit better than others and things like that, and I have faith that there's somebody who's going to fit even better than all of those things and all of those situations. And you see people who have lost the love of their life and found someone else. So that's not true. There are many soulmate type people out there, people you can connect with and be a great match with. You did not lose your soulmate. Also, I want you to know that in time, there will be someone for you. So this is point 6. There is another person out there for you. And after some time, you will be in the energy of probably wanting to go out and meet someone again. And 7, point 7 is, if you compare your past, look at your past and look at relationships that felt like it was going to be the end of the world when it ended. And now it doesn't really, there's nothing in there. You're indifferent to it. Yes, there are going to be some people probably that had somewhat of a lasting impact, but even those people you don't necessarily think about every day. There's going to be different instances and things like that. But if you look at your entire past, even if you haven't had many romantic relationships, you can even look at friendships and things like that that have come to pass, and you don't feel much about it anymore because you've moved on and it's okay. And you're going to be okay. So something I think with point 8 that is really helpful, and this is another write it down kind of exercise, is to make a list of what really wasn't great. So I know that might sound like, oh, everything was great. But if it broke up, that right there isn't great, right? You can write, hey, we were together all this time and they didn't tell me they were unhappy. Or more often, there's actually a list of things. Like maybe, for instance, they never noticed anything about you or asked you questions about yourself or had much interest in the things that you did or how you were. Or maybe you lived together and they didn't, you felt like you were the only one doing stuff around the house. They didn't help a lot, and every time you asked, they got upset. Or I don't know exactly what it is, but 9 times out of 10, somebody has a bigger list. Or maybe you weren't aligned on where you were going with your life together. And that's often something that breaks us up. So I think sometimes writing a list like this of the incompatibilities is really helpful, to just have it on paper and be like, yeah, this really wasn't a fit for whatever reason. And even if it felt like it was on a lot of levels, if you start really delving in and kind of thinking about it, you'll start teasing things out and see where maybe it wasn't. And I do want to mention that for somebody who may have been involved in something, some of the things that I say here, if somebody was involved with somebody who was very volatile and had toxic behavior, or maybe displayed a lot of narcissism or was extremely abusive, mentally, physically, all of those things. Some of this stuff, wishing somebody well, all that kind of stuff, that's probably not going to apply. Maybe not even, maybe at some point you can, be like, I hope they get the help they need. But like, I just want to make sure that I am at least addressing, if somebody is abusive, no on everything. No on everything. Don't be with them. Don't allow yourself to be squashed by that. Seek outside help. Seek people who feel safe to you. Those kinds of things. I just wanted to go ahead and mention that while I'm in the middle of this, because I do think it's extremely important that if you are in something abusive, it may take you a little longer to recover, maybe a lot longer. And sometimes professional help is needed in not only that situation, but just in general. So I just want to mention that now. So getting past that, once you are out of this relationship, number 9, I want to say it's really important to do something nice for yourself. I'll give you a few examples, and I'll give you kind of a funny one that I started with during a really hard time for myself. So I'll start with that, which was, this might sound a little funny, but I bought myself this really nice lemon verbena bar of soap. It was just from Trader Joe's, and they still have it, by the way, and it's still amazing. But I bought this soap, and something about it, it was like this aromatherapy thing, and it was like, oh, this is something nice I'm doing for myself. And it kind of was, I didn't have it before the end of that relationship, but I had it. It was like this new start thing. I don't know. There was something about that kind of marked a new life where I was going to start paying attention to myself. You can also do something nice, like take yourself to a nice dinner. It can be with a friend too, if you don't want to go out by yourself. I'm not one who really goes out to certain things by myself. So if you don't want to do it by yourself, go with a friend. Get yourself, one thing I will do for myself is I will buy myself something cool, like a cool new piece of jewelry. Obviously, hello, I like rings. I like clothes. Yeah, that's obvious. So I might, I definitely have done that, gotten like a new piece of clothing or jewelry. But if you don't, even if you don't have a lot of money, there's things you can thrift it or find something that's not, too expensive, even a few dollars. Just something small for yourself. Even the dollar store has fun stuff. And then the other thing that is really great is like doing something for your health, like start a new little routine of walking or making yourself nice food, looking at different dietary things you might want to try that make you feel really good. Like, I don't know, maybe you start adding more greens into your diet or special smoothies or, whatever it is. Something that makes your health feel good, makes you feel better. Maybe you do vitamins or something. And then we're getting there. 10, I think, is really important because I think a lot of people, I'll say this circles back to 1 a little bit about allowing yourself to feel sad and giving yourself some time. I would suggest not to date immediately. Because I know for myself that when I have done that in the past, I start thinking about all the other traits of the person and comparing. 1, you're not done healing. You may be, I don't think you have to be fully healed to go back out there if you don't want to. Like, I think as long as you're at the place where you kind of start feeling, okay, I might want to start dating, and you don't have to get into necessarily, you can do something that's a little bit more light and just say, I want to get back out there. Maybe you're not ready, and make sure, you're matching up with people who are kind of in the same space of just like, a little bit more less serious kind of dating. But I definitely, if you were in a year relationship and were pretty devastated at the end, I would say you need to give yourself probably 6 months to a year to heal. And it's going to vary on what it was, but like even something that is like a 3-month relationship, I had like a 3-month thing, and I wasn't over it for a while. Like I would say 6 months to a year. I shouldn't have been dating. I went directly out and started bulletproof dating is what I call it. Because you're bulletproof, you're not feeling much. People, you're using people. I was using people as band-aids, and that is not nice. And some people wanted more than I wanted, and I was just a shell because I wasn't healed at all. So I will say the alternative to that, if you're feeling lonely, is to contact friends, trusted family members, kind of immerse yourself in any hobbies you might have. I know it sounds like it's not a great replacement, but it's like you need to get in touch with yourself and what it is you like again and how you are on your own again. So there's like meetup groups and things like that where you can, I don't know, hiking club. One time I joined you know what I did? I joined an introverts group. It was so fun. It was a very, it was a range of different kinds of people. The only thing we had in common is that we were introverts, and it was so cool. We would go to museums or art shows or things like that together, and it was so much fun. And you're in a group setting, and you would connect with different people over the course of a couple hour hangout, I remember making some guy friends, some girlfriends, just like going around to these places, and it was really fun. Another thing you can do is you can take classes. There's online classes, there's in-person classes. There's even, like, if you have no money, you can actually audit Stanford and Yale classes for free online if you want. I have. It's amazing. Now, there's some stuff that you don't get, but you get to audit the class. So I'm just saying there's some free things out there for you. Now, the last point, which is, in my opinion, something that can really be helpful and helped heal me. And I am going to put it in the show notes. There's a book that goes along with this point. This process is not linear. Some days you're going to feel a little bit better. Some days you're going to feel awful. And then some days you're going to feel numb, and then you'll feel angry, and then you'll feel like you're completely over it and you don't care, and that person's a complete idiot, and why didn't they see you, and then you're going to feel devastated again. And it's going to go in cycles, and then you're going to start noticing space between the cycles, and then it starts to dissipate, and you start to accept it, and then a little twinge comes up, and at some point you'll be in a lot better space. But this is not a linear process at all. It's not like, oh, I'm devastated. Oh, I feel a little bit better. Oh, today I feel great. No, it's going to go back and forth quite a bit. And you're going to have complete resolve some days, and other days you might be a mess. And it's good to allow for knowing that this is what happens. So there is a book that I read, I actually have a tattoo from that time. It's the word akeru. It's a Japanese word, means to pierce, to open, and to begin. So it's kind of like the ending and the beginning in one word, which is extremely powerful because that's kind of how things can go in something like this. So the book is called The Journey from Abandonment to Healing by Susan Anderson. So the stages of grieving are this. Number one is shattering. It's like this shock state that you go into when it happens. And then there's withdrawal. And I think we all know what that is inferring. And it's the withdrawal of that relationship. And then there's internalizing, where we're looking at, is there something we did? You know, it's a hard stage. And you're looking at every little detail, right? And then there's rage, where you're just angry. You're angry at yourself or them or whatever, the whole situation. And then last is lifting, where everything starts, that kind of like, okay. It's like the acceptance kind of stage. Now, this book, The Journey from Abandonment to Healing, is specific to relationships. And I think that's why it's so helpful. It's about the way grief is specific to a long, even a short term, a relationship ending, and the person still being around. Now, death is a little bit different. And I think people feel like they're less likely to say, if someone dies, they're not going to be like, why can't you get over it? But people will do that if you broke up with somebody or someone broke up with you, or they don't understand. You've got this person walking around in the world. That is a different kind of hard. That's a different kind of hard. And that's why I love this book, because she speaks to that. And there's an understanding that that is not easy, because you're walking around essentially with that person's out there doing their thing, getting together with someone else, whatever it is, right? And I think that makes it harder. And people don't see that kind of, even though they might go through it in their life, it's almost like they forget that it can be very devastating. So, one thing I saw when I did my research is that she has a workbook now that goes with it. And I will tell you, I wrote hundreds of notes, just lots and lots of notes when I went through this book, and I even got it tattooed on my wrist so I wouldn't forget that it's important. But don't get a tattoo unless you're serious. However, I will say that, like, it's such powerful material. It would have been great to have a workbook along with it, and now there is one, so I'll link both of those things in the show notes. And she does talk about how this process is not linear. And so if you are really going through it, there's also some stuff on her website that you might be able to read that would be helpful. But I really highly suggest this book. I've suggested it to several friends who are going through really hard things, and it's been helpful to them as well. So that is point 11. I really hope that you are able to move through this a little bit quicker than with the information I'm giving you. Because I don't think that we have to spend years and years. Now, like I said, if there's other things involved like trauma and things like that, might be a bit different. But when we are moving through a process, I think there are some really helpful things to do so. And hope this helps. And I will see you soon. As always, if you have any ideas or comments, please put them below in the comment section. And if you like this content, please like and subscribe. Have a great day. Take care.